Augustine asked, I thought I recall that the appropriations for the minority lending program applied to both CDFIs and MDIs. Is this true or not true?
You have to be a certified CDFI first, and then if you're MDI, you're included. Now, I will point on ESIP, which was the Emergency Capital Investment Program, was open to CDFIs and MDIs. So just a refresher, there was $12 billion in that package. The Emergency Capital Investment Program received $9 billion, and then the CDFI fund had the $3 billion. And the 1.75 of the $3 billion specifies you must be certified. And then if you're an MDI, as well as some other accountability standards that were mentioned in the statute, that is how you are eligible to apply.
Okay. Well, there's a few other questions, but why don't we open up with our panel, because some of those questions might be addressed in the comments of your panelists from your wonderful staff. I have 2 grandchildren and gotten reacquainted with some children's stories, and I have to tell you that the little engine that could reminds me of you and your team of I think I can, and you certainly did, and will continue to do so much good work for us. So if we want to kick it over to, I'll let you do the handoff here, Jodie, to your team members who will go from here with our panel.
Great, thank you, Sil. And I also want to underscore the little engine that could story, because we have a phenomenal team of people who've all been working remotely. And even when we're in the office, we're all just one group downtown. We're not like some of the other agencies that have regional offices and people who are constantly on the ground. So our team accomplishes quite a bit and has accomplished quite a bit over the last couple of years. So thank you again. I'll turn it over to Marcia Sigal, who is our Deputy Director for Policy and Programs, and she will facilitate the panel with our great program managers. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jodie.
Okay, I thought I was unmuted. Can you hear me now? Yeah? Okay. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for having us, and thank you for joining us today, and thank you, Jodie and Seal. It's always good to be with the CDFI Coalition. I was here last year with Seal as well, and I'm sorry we're not together in person this year, but hopefully next year. But meanwhile, we do have a good panel for you today, and I'm going to kind of go over a few things, and it is definitely the little engine that could, and the people you see on the screen are the engine pistons, I guess, and I'm going to introduce them in a moment. So first, I just want to kind of segue from what Jodie said to some other information. I know that I was listening, I know she provided you with information on the work the CDFI Fund is doing to launch the minority lending program and complete the new CDFI certification application. And in this panel, we're going to move forward and provide you with the overview of the rest of the work that the CDFI Fund is doing and many of the programs and certification. And then we'll come back and try to answer some of these other questions that were pending, okay? You're going to hear today from the managers of the Bank Enterprise Awards, the CDFI's NACA programs, Capital Magnet Fund, and small dollar loan programs, as well as the Office of Certification Policy and Evaluation. And they are going to update you on what's happening in those areas, the items we're working on. I'm going to introduce them, but I'm going to cover the other programs that you may have interest in that are not going to be spoken to by these panelists. So I'm going to start with the Bond Guarantee Program, BGP. We call it the FY22 round, opened on February 25th. Applications for qualified issuers are due April 20th, and guarantee applications are due nearly a week later on April 26th. In the meantime, I do want to let you know that the BGP program team is holding an informational webinar and Q&A session about the BG program in just a couple of days. It's on March 10th. If you're at all interested, registration is of course always free for our webinars, and the information is on the CDFI Fund website. And even if you're not planning on applying this year, it's a complex program and complex application process because of the bond guaranteed by the federal government. So if you're all interested, tune in and listen to the webinar, and it will help get you started with your understanding of the program. The New Markets Tax Credit program, the application round closed on January 13th. I do want to make note that this is the second year for which the CDFI fund has had $5 billion to award a new markets tax credit, and we are really excited about that. I'm very pleased. But it should be no surprise, demand continues to outpace supply. We had a total of 199 applications that requested $4.7 billion in new market tax credit allocations in this round. The team's currently working on the review, and we expect to announce awards in the fall of this calendar year. There's also something new that we're undertaking that I want to let you know about with respect to the new markets tax credit program. We're having something called the Native New Markets Tax Credit Initiative. This year, we recently published a request for proposals to secure a contractor to help us do some research and analysis, conduct a survey of new markets program stakeholders to help us develop a self-assessment guide and plan and facilitate technical workshops for Native CDEs, Native CDFIs, and other tribal entities that focus on investing in Native areas in the New Markets program. And this work will identify best practices that we know of, and also provide a variety of strategies and tools for current and prospective Native CDEs to help them successfully participate in the program. And this we'll kick this off sometime this spring. So if you're at all interested in that, I encourage you, again, I think Jodie mentioned the best way to find out about, different things that are happening is to sign up for our eGov delivery listserv. But we're happy to be doing this and excited about that. I don't know how many of you are familiar with the Economic Mobility Corps, what we call EMC. The FY22 application round closed in early January, and we will announce awards in the fall of 22. The FY22 round was the second round of the EMC program. The inaugural round was announced last year in August. 3 organizations received a total of $2.5 million. That's an interesting program that's that helps place what we call service volunteers or service professionals in CDFIs. So if you're interested in that, it's on our website. It might be a good resource for your organization to have a service professional placed with you. I'm going to make a couple of comments about the schedule and the round, again, referencing the little engine that could. This is going to be a busy spring of both round openings, application openings, and award announcements. The program managers are going to go into their details like I just did about those programs, more in depth about their programs. But given the number of programs the CDFI fund administers over the course of the fiscal year, some programs have very strict fiscal year deadlines for expenditure and obligations of funds. There's always an overlap, and I hear this from folks, about could we not have multiple rounds open at the same time? And I'm afraid that's just not possible. At least right now. So there's going to be some overlap. And also, I do want to highlight for you that I know that people in some cases have gotten used to when certain rounds are open. And that's part of why we come here and brief you to kind of, help you understand what's coming. But right now, the program calendars are fluid for when they're going to open, applications will be taken, when awards will be made, because we have a lot of competing demands, and I'm working on the timing of those things. And we probably will make some adjustments to some programs, but you will be the first to know, because as soon as we figure it out, we will send out an eGov delivery when we can know what's going on with our program schedules and staffing. So now I'm going to introduce the panel. First, we're going to hear from Michelle Dickens. She's the program manager for the Office of Certification, Policy and Evaluation. I think this might be the first year since we made this split between certification and compliance. She can probably explain that to you, but she is the program manager now. And then we're going to hear from Tanya McInnis. She's the program manager of what Jodie referred to as the Depository Institutions Initiatives, which is both the Bank Enterprise Award Program as well as the Small Dollar Loan Program, which we just launched this past year. Then we're going to hear from Andrew Schlack, who's the new program manager for the Capital Magnet Fund. And then we're going to hear from Candace Herring. She's currently the acting manager for the CDFI and NACA programs. So again, continue to put your questions in the, Seal, do you want them in the Q&A or you want them in the chat?
Good question.
Ideally, hi, this is Paul Anderson. Ideally in the Q&A.
Q&A, okay. Because I see there's a couple different things going on, so that's what I wanted to say. Okay, in the Q&A section. Okay, I'm going to turn it over to Michelle and have her go into a lot of the things that are going on in the certification unit. Thank you all for listening, and thank you all for being here. We're really thrilled that we're able to at least communicate with you this way. So you're going to find out everything you want to know. Go ahead, Michelle.
Thank you, Marcia, and good morning, everyone. The Office of Certification, Policy, and Evaluation always has a wealth of information to share, and we appreciate, obviously, this opportunity to talk about this stuff. And I have 3 topics in particular to share with you this morning. The first topic is about the upcoming certification and compliance deadlines. The next reporting deadline for most certified CDFIs is March 31st. So please check your AMIS reporting schedule and your AMIS CDFI certification report schedule to ensure that you are submitting your ACR on time, because the deadline is roughly about 3 weeks away. And there are several changes that have been made to the 2022 ACR report year. Back in 2021, we began hosting a quarterly conference call for the annual certification report. The next call for that is being scheduled, or is scheduled, for March the 10th at 3:00 p.m. Eastern time. And information about the call is available under the reporting section of the CDFI certification webpage. In addition to the call, on the call where we will discuss the new changes and answer participant questions, we've updated the guidance materials and the frequently asked questions document. I highly encourage that you take time to review them, either before you start your ACR or before you join us on the call. We have also posted new guidance materials that provide information on submitting the ACR in the new AMIS Lightning environment. The compliance team has also been posting guidance materials to provide information on how to complete various reporting in the Lightning environment as well. The certification team continues to host our monthly conference calls on the certification application process. The next call for that is scheduled for March the 17th at 3:00 p.m. And I must emphasize and encourage you to keep your AMIS contact list up to date in order to receive the courtesy reminder notifications that we provide. The second topic is about the revised CDFI certification application. So I'll be a little brief here since Jodie covered a lot. We are continuing to make progress on the adjudication of the comments that were submitted back in 2020. It seemed like yesterday to me. Once we have completed the process, OMB will then publish another 30-day comment period, again, for you to provide any feedback to us about the application. And of course, like Jodie mentioned on the timeline, the most important question of the day probably is when will it be implemented? And as she mentioned, we're looking at full implementation sometime in our fiscal year 2023. And because of all of the moving parts, the details about that is still to be determined. Lastly, the third topic, the certification timeline. As we noted late last year, the CDFI Fund has discontinued the policy of providing determinations on new certification application and target market modification applications within the 90-day time period. At some point in the future, we do hope to return to a more definite window on the application reviews, but to help alleviate delays that not knowing what the time frame is, the CDFI Fund has done a couple of things. We've restructured the former Certification Compliance Monitoring and Evaluation, CCME team, and created 2 separate offices, the Office of Certification and Policy and Evaluation, and the Compliance Monitoring and Evaluation, which will allow us to better align staff resources. We've added some staff capacity and continue to increase staffing to accommodate the increase in certification and compliance monitoring needs. We've intensified the training for new staff in an effort to help bring them up to speed and wrap their minds around the current application policies and make sound recommendations. And we've begun rejecting incomplete or inaccurate applications. And we've significantly reduced the time that we used to spend retrieving additional information from applicants. So applications with fatal flaws will be automatically excluded from our review process, which will allow the team to provide more time to review applications that are complete and present information properly. And that concludes my sort of general comments about the certification and compliance related ongoing. So I will pass the virtual mic over to Tanya McInnis. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Michelle, and welcome everyone. Good afternoon. It is always a pleasure to present to the coalition. As Marcia said, I'm Tanya McInnis. I'm the program manager for our Depository Institutions initiatives, and we oversee the administration of two assistance programs, the Bank Enterprise Award Program, as well as the Small Dollar Loan Program. And so I'm going to start by providing an update on the Bank Enterprise Award Program, also known as the BEA program. We are in the middle of our 21 funding round. As you all know, those who apply, the round closed on December 14th, 2021. And we anticipate announcing awards in the spring of this year. There were a total of 161 applications requesting more than $288 million, which is double the amount that was requested during the last round, and also over 11 times the amount that is available to make awards. So a total of $26 million is available for this round. Again, we anticipate announcing awards in the spring. Also may be of note to you all is that the program, the 2021 program applicants are headquartered in 24 states, as well as the District of Columbia. Next, I'm going to talk a little bit about the Small Dollar Loan Program. Last year, we had the inaugural round for that program. We announced awards in September. There were a total of 52 certified CDFIs that received $10.8 million in awards. So really excited about that new program and the response that it garnered as well. Since the awards were announced in September, we did publish the application for public comment, and we are in the process of completing our adjudication of those comments. We anticipate opening the 22 round in the summer. We are hoping to apply the lessons learned during the inaugural round to increase awareness and demand for the next round. And so we encourage you to, if you have an interest in the program, to stay tuned. We will be publishing more information and updates related to that program. That's all I have for now. And I'm going to turn it over to Andrew.
Great, thank you, Tanya. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Andrew Schlack, and as Marcia mentioned, I'm the newly selected program manager for the Capital Magnet Fund, and it's a joy to be here at the Institute this year to panel on the resources available and the funding round status of the Capital Magnet Fund. For folks that are familiar with the Capital Magnet Fund program, recognize that this is the CDFI Fund's flagship affordable housing program, which is administered through a competitive application process. The fiscal year 2021 application round closed on November 9th of last year and had more than $380 million available, which makes 2021 the largest application round in the history of the CMF program. And just for comparative purposes, this 380 million is more than double the 175 million, which was made in February 2021. And at that time, that was the highest amount of funding that had been available in a single CMF round. So more than double what was announced just in February 2021. This goes along with the theme that Marcia and Jodie had talked about, is the year of the CDFI. Certainly a lot more resources being administered through the CMF program. So for 2021, a total of 146 organizations submitted applications which requested more than $991 million in funding, so almost $1 billion of requests. These applicants propose to serve 48 states, the District of Columbia and Puerto Rico. And the applicants represent a pretty even split. 50% of the applicants are certified CDFIs and the other half are nonprofit housing organizations, which are the two eligible applicant types for the CMF program. We anticipate making the award announcement for the current 2021 round in late spring or early summer of this year. However, I wanted to note that the CDFI fund reserves the right to adjust or modify the total amount that's available for awards based on the funding requests from qualified applicants. What this means is that depending on the evaluation of all the applications that we receive through the CMF program this year, awards may be less than the total amount of funds that are available, and any funds that are not awarded in that year simply get carried over to a subsequent year. So looking ahead to next year for the 2022 application, the timing of that round, as Marcia indicated, is still being planned, and more information will be shared following the 2021 awards after those awards have been announced. Most importantly, though, of note, we do have the money for next year, as Fannie and Freddie have recently filed their 10Ks, and it was recently announced by their regulator, the Federal Housing Finance Agency, that $398 million will be allocated to Treasury for the 2022 CMF program round. Again, this amount will mark the new high water mark for the CMF program in terms of dollars to award. So we're very, very thankful to be stewards of this capital to help guide it towards doing good and putting the dollars at work to address the critical need of affordable housing across the country in partnership with the CDFIs that are represented on today's call. So with that, I'll conclude my remarks and I will pass the ball over to my colleague, Candace Herring. Candace.
Thanks, Andrew. And good afternoon, everyone. Again, I'm Candace Herring. I'm the acting manager for the CDFI program and Native Initiatives team. I'm happy to be joining you this afternoon to provide some brief updates on the CDFI program and NACA program. As I'm sure most of you are aware, we opened our fiscal year 2022 funding rounds for the CDFI program and NACA program about a month ago on February 10th. The NOFAs and guidance materials for the base FA supplementals and TA applications are available on our website right now for your review. Some of the substantive changes that you'll see in this round's NOFAs include clarifying language that applicants must be certified as of the date of the NOFA is published in the Federal Register, and must maintain CDFI certification throughout the application review and award process to be eligible for an FA award. We also clarified that the eligibility checks on regulated applicants related to CAMELS or equivalent ratings or information extends to both CDFI Depository Institution Holding Company applicants, as well as their subsidiary CDFI insured depository institutions that intend to carry out the activities of an FA or TA award. We plan to make approximately $204 million in fiscal year 2022 awards. Note that this estimate may be adjusted based on final enactment of a fiscal year 2022 appropriations bill. Currently, we estimate that the funding will be divided as follows: $140 million in CDFI program FA and TA awards, $14.3 million in NACA program FA and TA awards, $20.7 million in Persistent Poverty County Financial Assistance or PPC FA awards, which includes $19 million in PPC FA awards for CDFI program applicants and $1.7 million in PPC FA awards for NACA program applicants, $23 million for Healthy Food Financing Initiative Financial Assistance or HFFI FA awards, and finally $6 million for Disability Funds Financial Assistance or DFFA awards. And both CDFI program and NACA program applicants can apply for HFFI FA and DFFA awards. In terms of our outreach efforts for this round, we conducted virtual FA and TA application workshops in late February. And if you're interested, you can access the recordings for both workshops on our website. Both workshops were well attended and we received a lot of great questions, so we really appreciate your participation in those events. We have a few additional outreach events scheduled for the end of this month. Specifically, we will be conducting a matching funds webinar on Tuesday, March 22nd, a Q&A webinar for CDFI program applicants on Wednesday, March 30th, and a Q&A webinar for NACA program applicants on Thursday, March 31st. And information about accessing the upcoming webinars is available on our website. And as I wrap up, I want to leave you with a few reminders about important upcoming application deadlines. The deadline for submitting your CDFI's SF424 in grants.gov is next Monday, March 14th. If you haven't already submitted your SF424, I strongly encourage you to do so as soon as possible. Keep in mind that you will not be able to submit a FA or TA application in AMIS if you do not successfully submit that SF424 by the deadline. Also, March 14th is the last day to create an AMIS account and to enter your EIN and DUNS numbers in AMIS if you haven't already completed those steps. And CEQA FA applicants that would like to apply as a core FA applicant must submit a service request to request the creation of a core FA application by March 14th. And as you're working on your applications, please keep in mind that the last day to contact CDFI program and NACA program staff with your application questions is about a month out on Friday, April 8th, and the deadline for submitting FA and TA applications in AMIS is Tuesday, April 12th. Finally, we anticipate that TA awards will be announced by the end of September 2022, and FA awards will be announced at a later date. And that concludes my updates for the CDFI program and NACA program, and I will turn it back over to Marcia.
Unmute myself. Okay, we have a few questions in the Q&A section, and I'm going to have Michelle go first and pick out the ones that she can answer on certification, and then we'll loop back to the programs. Michelle, do you want me to, you're good. Okay, go ahead.
I think I'm good. Thank you. Let's see here. Where's the certification guide? We have certification guidance on our CDFI certification webpage on the CDFI Funds website. The actual guidance material is on step 1 on applying. Step 2 is about reporting. So that's where the annual certification report guidance will be located. If you're talking specifically about the new application and the policies related to it that we proposed a year or so ago, I think you'll find information about that sort of in the history of historical links you can find there. I hope that answers the question. I wasn't really quite sure which certification guide you were referring to. We do get a lot of applications that have a lot of missing data. It's either reporting on the wrong fiscal year. The question here is about the being fatally flawed. How are we determining fatally flawed applications? The data is missing. documents are missing, required documents are missing. The information about target market specific activity and or verification process is not clear. So the application will lend itself to becoming declined as opposed to going back and forth like we would normally do with the applicant. We will stop the process, provide information in a debriefing document in a declined application notification. We are still open as usual to conducting debriefing sessions so that the next application is submitted more clearly and accurately. And we also, as I mentioned previously, have the monthly conference call. I really encourage folks to hop on that call, if not to do anything but to listen, so that you can at least hear and hear the answers and the questions that are being proposed from other applicants.
And if I can, I want to jump in here to kind of underscore what Michelle is referring to. And so again, our goal isn't to just arbitrarily decline applications. When the act was passed, we saw a significant increase in applications that were incomplete, that had incorrect information. And our time going back and forth with these applicants takes time away from focusing on the applications that are complete. So right now we have a rolling queue, and we may need to revisit that, but we have a rolling queue. And so if we spend time going back and forth, it really takes away from moving through the applications, which increases the backlog, which I know everyone is not happy with. And then there's also some prioritization that happened related to other recovery programs where the team has to shift resources. So I do hope that people understand that our shift in moving away from the 90 days and the shift to declaring groups applications as incomplete and needing to decline isn't because we don't want to provide customer service or help groups get certified. It's just the volume of applications that required much more work than they should have when they got to us was really, really high. And I need to just say that they were really high and they just diverted resources. So please be patient with us as we sort through this certification process. Michelle and her team are doing a fantastic job, and we are trying to find out what the right window is to be able to tell people. But we also need people to get on the calls, read the guidance, and make sure that they're taking the time to accurately, as best as possible, complete the applications. So I'll stop there.
And I'll just add one more thing, Jodie, to that. I think a lot of folks think that CDFI certification is all that we do. We are also doing CDE applications and all the things related to the new markets program around certification. So, and then the policy and all of the other stuff that we're working on. So it's not just CDFI certifications that we're churning out all day, every day for the last 25 years.
Okay, Michelle, were there some other ones that you wanted to address? I think Michelle posted a lot of things in the chat, everybody, that are the links to various guidance. So
Marcia, there was a question in here about the new certification process, including changes to definitions of target and eligible markets.
Thank you, Sil, for pointing that out. There aren't any changes to definitions. So all the definitions that we are working with now will remain the same.
Okay.
I don't see any others related to.
Okay, all right. We'll loop back if we need to. I want to answer one question that came up related to the Civil Rights Title VI compliance information session that what had been scheduled and we postponed it. Right now we're working on some between the Treasury Department and the OMB to work on some issues that came up about that. So we haven't rescheduled it, and we'll have to provide you with additional information about that report and those requirements and any kind of guidance or webinars or some information sessions that we're going to put out at a later date. We don't have any information right now other than just to say that it became a sort of cross-federal issue with OMB. So we're working on it. That's why it was pulled and why it was pulled out of some of our upcoming applications. There was a question about BEA that I'm going to have Tanya address. Go ahead, Tanya.
Sure. So the question is there an average award size for BEA? And our award books publishes the maximum award sizes as well as the average award sizes. So to give the historical data for the previous rounds, I strongly encourage you to go to our website. If you go to, I think it's step 2 under the BEA program, you'll find the list of the award books for all of the rounds that have closed. With respect to the current round, the 2021 funding round, again, we're still in the middle of that round. We plan to announce awards in the spring. So when the awards are announced and the book, that award book is available, you'll be able to find the information related to, again, maximum award size as well as the average awards. So I hope I answered your question.
Yeah. Okay, thanks. There's a question about whether or not you can file an SF424 if you have a pending SAM.gov. Candace or Andrew, do you know the answer to that? Because I don't.
Yeah, I would suggest that they follow up with SAM or grants.gov directly. We don't manage those systems, so the best thing to do is just to go to them directly.
Okay. Okay, somebody asked for the deadline dates. Again, Jason's posted links to the chat. Jason Bullard is our external affairs folks. We keep referring to somebody named Jason, which I don't think we introduced him, but he's in the chat and the application posting things. So I think he will, if he hasn't already, post you directly to the link related to where all the different deadlines, which are actually in the NOFA. What Candace was referring to and all the deadlines that she was reading off are in the notice of fund availability that was published to open the round. So I think it's best for people just go there and you can see everything that I think is appropriate, right?
There's also a table on our application materials page that has all the deadlines, and it's also in the guidance materials too. So you can't miss it. It's in multiple documents and on the website.
Right. There's a question about when the TA awards will be announced and when the FA award will be announced. We do have to split it sometimes because of all the different competing demands that we have. So that's why we're doing it again this year. Someone said, so we don't, it's not necessarily like, a particular, decision that we're making to continue to do it. We have to do it when we have to do it. So, what else is here?
Marcia, could you clarify?
Okay, read the question. Okay. I was reading, there was a question that says, why is FA and TA being split and announced separately? And the answer is because of all of our different balancing of different programs and staffing. Sometimes we have to change program round schedules. And so that's what we did this time for the FA and TA. We have statutory deadlines to expend certain funds within the fiscal year. And so that's why we're announcing the TA awards first. And then we will announce the other FA awards after that sometime later. And that's why we're doing it. So that was the question. Because Candace said we're announcing the TA awards by September 30th and the FA awards at some later point. So the question was, why are we doing that? So, and I'm saying because we need to balance a lot of competing demands. So, okay. I think that
Marcia,
yes.
There's a question, just to clarify again. So it says, so you do not have to be an MDI as long as you are a certified CDFI to qualify for the MLP?
Yeah, I think that my answer for that is, at this juncture, there's a lot of things that are formative, and so what Jodie said is right. We're working within the Treasury and across the federal government to clarify a lot of things related to the MLP program. And I saw the other question about, will the 1.2 have the same application guidelines as the 1.75? My best advice on this for everybody is to stay tuned. There's some things that we're still working on, as Jodie mentioned. You know, hearing this now isn't going to help you later, because there's nothing that you need to do except make sure that you are certified if you want to participate, because that is the prerequisite, or, you know, for eligibility to apply. So, Seal, are you looking at some other ones? Okay, you're welcome. Someone said thank you. Like, you're very welcome.
Let's see.
Okay, I think we talked about the question related to the frequently asked questions. Wait, Ted said you had mentioned a guide that included frequently asked questions and not the upcoming certification changes. So I think Michelle answered that, because she put the links in the chat to these things.
I think there was a question about pursuing national certification for target markets.
Yeah, I don't know if Michelle's in a position to answer that yet. Are you, Michelle?
No.
Okay. Okay, so we're not in a place where we can answer that yet. I see the question that says, can you tell us if the census block geocoder has been developed yet? And if so, how to access that? I don't know, but so I think we're just going to have to, you know, submit a service request on that, and maybe we can get the answer by then. So,
So Marcia, let me just
go
jump
ahead.
in here real quick about the service request. So I'm noticing that there's some questions in the chat, not in the Q&A, about specific applications or specific issues. And so we've spent a lot of time over the last couple of years developing our AMIS system to be able to have a pretty robust service request system. So there is a phone number you can call if you want to get a question, but if you have specific questions about your organization or an application, please submit a service request, because it automatically sends your question to the proper people, and the proper people get it real time in their email and can then figure out the best answer. So I saw something about the certification application and an IRL. Not sure what that was about, but it might be clear if you put it in the service request, as well as some of these other questions about the census data that will go to our financial strategies and research team, who will have a better response. So please use AMIS in the service request for some very specific questions.
Yeah, thank you, Jodie. That was going to be my ending note, but I think it will be less frustrating if people hear that now. So there's a question in the chat, though, that I don't think got put in the about in the Q&A section, that says, you know, is the certification process this year wholly different from previous years? And the answer to that is no. You're seeing Jodie and Michelle shake their heads. No, we're talking about future changes that have been published. So, you know, for comment, and I think that some people have been aware of this, and that was what Jodie and Michelle were addressing. But no, there is no change right now for those. These questions about minority lending program, I want to just briefly address. Again, I understand folks have interest in it. It is a lot of money, and we're working as hard as we can to get the program developed to a point where we can share some specifics. And so some of these questions I can't answer. Although I will say that by statute, the answer to the question of are there matching funds for MLP is that by statute, the answer is no. So that's a statutory, you know, known fact. And I think the person that's asking is probably, you know, familiar with the FA program, which does have by statute matching funds requirements. So in contrast, the answer to that is no. some of these other things about, some of these other questions about impact measurement and things like that that have been in the Q&A, I would just say, because I am working daily with that team, these things will be answered in time. So when we get to that point. I don't think that there's anything that really I think we can answer at this point that's still left in the Q&A. I'm looking in the chat because I know some people were kind of going back and forth despite the fact that we said, could we please have it? I know Seal said put it in one place. No, okay. Okay.
I have one real quick question.
Okay.
Well, is maybe you covered this, but is the census data going to be updated soon, or is that probably next year?
That's a good question. We've had some internal discussion about that, and I think that when we have the sort of the answers to the specifics about that in place, it's a longer answer than I have time to go into right now, Paul, but we will put some notification out.
Okay.
There's been some delays that we have had in getting some of the data, and some of you are familiar with some of the issues going on with the census this year. So, yep. I'm reading different messages my staff is sending me too. Okay, and Jason is telling me that the release has been pushed back from the census, so we're getting it later. So we have had internal discussions about when we will be updating the census data for the programs and certification, but I don't think that we are in a place where we could say when that's going to happen yet.
It sounds like it won't be soon, though, probably.
I don't know.
Yeah. Okay, gotcha.
I don't.
Thanks.
I mean, and if I don't, that means we haven't decided yet, is what I'm saying. So, okay.
Okay.
All right. I'm seeing just one quick question about whether FA will be announced before the end of the calendar year.
Yeah, and I don't know that yet either. That's why earlier in my remarks I said we are redoing timelines right now. As soon as we know, we'll be happy to let you know. As soon as we.
Okay.
Okay.
And one other question about your staff. We know you all are very hardworking, but we don't want you to burn out. And so are you going to be bringing on new staff? Do you have some plans for that? And we want to see you.
Yes. Yes, I am bringing on a lot of new staff, and so are the other side of the aisle in the CDFI program as well. So, and CDFI fund as well. So yes, we are. Takes a while to get staff onboarded. So, but there's definitely, we're hiring now. We've hired some new folks that are in the process of coming on board, and we're hiring now. So folks that are interested to look at USA jobs.
I'm kind of curious also, are you all going to be going back into the office on a regular basis?
Yeah, that's also an unknown. Jodie wants to speak to that. Go ahead, Jodie.
I was going to say, we're working that out. I think every agency has adopted a different policy. And so we're working that out now in terms of when to bring people back. One thing I will say is we're also awaiting guidance on our participation in external events as well as travel policy. So I know there are a few folks on the Zoom that are probably having events coming up. And so continue to send in the speaker requests. But right now we've been doing everything virtually because we're still awaiting that guidance.
Okay. All right. Well, I just want to thank you all again, and we are going to take a break here. Thank you all thank you, Jodie. Thank you to all the panelists from the fund. I would encourage our participants and our CDFIs and all the stakeholders here to utilize the CDFI fund website, the monthly calls, all the tools that were suggested in here, and including Amos questions. And just thank you all again for your hard work and determination and all that you do for our industry and our field. So with that, I guess we'll say goodbye for now. And